So it means it's recording.
Okay.
Okay. Now, just so you know, none of this can be used against you in a court of law and...
That's alright.
Okay. Your full name is Duane Emerson Collier, and how old are you?
67.
What's your birthday?
February 22, 1942.
And what is your present living situation?
I presently live with my wife and her 2 children in Huntington Beach, and we have a cute little dog named Max.
Tutti. Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
I was born in Santa Monica Hospital, and when they took me home, it was to Braddock Drive in Culver City, and I spent my whole childhood there.
Until you were how old?
Actually, I didn't move out officially until I got married, and that was in 1965.
Your parents they've lived in this country for a long time, correct?
Yeah, several generations of both my mom's family and my dad's family were here in the United States. Their background, I had a difficult time tracing it. I think your dad probably has some pretty good ideas about both families. But my mom's family, the Curtis family, I think came from England, and it's traced through the Wright family.
Tutti? Okay. I'm turning it on. Let me just put it there. Watch it. Watch that.
And the Wright family was where the Wright brothers came from.
Yeah.
And then the Curtis family came from that. And there's some relationship with Martha Custis, the wife of George Washington. So I'm not sure. But then my dad's family, I'm not that knowledgeable about his family. He grew up in Butte, Montana, and I don't know.
That's where he was born, right?
Yeah, that's where he was born, and he and his 2 brothers and 2 sisters all grew up there and had a great time. They were a pretty rowdy bunch, the 3 boys.
And that was Emerson?
Emerson and David and my dad, Paul. And they would hop freights and just to go to another town where they had great ice cream cones. They'd get on the freight train and go there to get an ice cream cone. And they also used the freight train when they were looking for jobs when they got a little older, and they would get on a train and look for an area that had a lot of farms that needed help, and they'd go in there and help farmers do things.
Was that safer back then, or is it just as dangerous as it is now?
It probably was a little bit safer, but I mean it was pretty dangerous. And when the freight trains got more, when their security got a little better, and they were watching closely to see if people got on when the train started going slow, once in a while they would have to pool their money together and go to the train station and buy 1 ticket. So they'd buy 1 ticket. Yes? I see that. Yeah, that's great. So they go and they buy 1 ticket, so the train would have to stop and let that guy on. And then while that guy was being paying to get on, all the other guys would slide underneath the cars and be getting a free ride. So
that's pretty cool.
Very interesting the way they grew up.
And they would ride underneath the cars?
Yeah, they'd ride wherever they could. If there was an open box car, they'd get in. And yeah, today I think you would probably be taking your life in your hands with some of the people that are on the freight train.
Yeah, that's definitely more dangerous today. What are some of the memories that you have of your parents?
I have tons of memories of my parents, but mostly a very stay-at-home family. We very rarely went places. We probably had dinner at home at least 6 days a week, usually 7, and that's why it was so much more exciting during the summer when we'd go on a camping trip, because we'd have to stop at a cafe, and it was neat to have cafe food once in a while. But my memories of my mom and dad mostly have to do with the way they constantly educated me. I guess that's probably the common thread in parenting. But every time I was with them, there was learning going on. In fact, when I got in high school and math started getting a little hard, my dad would sit me down and he'd work with me on math, whether it was algebra or geometry or whatever. It was pretty sharp.
Did they go to school?
They didn't go to college, neither one of them, but when Mom graduated from high school, she immediately became a teacher, and she taught kids in elementary school. And then Dad, I don't know if he finished high school. I'm not sure, but he did. When he came down to Los Angeles, he did go to trade school. I forget. I think it's called LA Trade Check, and he went there to learn refrigeration mechanics, and so that became his life.
And that's what he did at
Fixing
Coca-Cola?
Coke, yeah, fixing Coke machines. And then he had a side business where he and another guy who worked at Coke would go around and they'd fix refrigeration units in cafes and saloons and wherever. So anybody who had trouble with their ice box or their cooler, they'd call my dad and Uncle Louie, and those guys would go fix it.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, just to tell you, my earliest childhood memory, I can actually remember when I had that tracheostomy when I was in the hospital? Remember
No. My memory is really terrible, dude.
when I was about 18 months old,
Oh,
a little
okay.
older than Reagan,
Okay.
I was in the hospital with, because my throat swelled shut, and I was in the hospital for about a week. And I can actually remember being in the hospital and seeing one of the nurses give me a teddy bear, like to hold, that had like plastic balloons on it. I remember that. That's my earliest memory.
That's great. I mean, memory being as sweet to us as it is, I really wish I had a better one, because it's one of the reasons I had difficulty in social studies. I just never could get a B in social studies. C was my top grade, because I couldn't tie events and dates and places all together. Still can't. And now I'm having more difficult problems with my memory, such as Oso Parkway.
All the street names down here seem to be almost the same, though.
Yeah.
It's like Alicia and Avery and
Yeah.
Oso, Ortega, they're all the same.
Yeah.
What is the earliest childhood memory that you have?
It's interesting, but my earliest memories are of two accidents that I had, and I wrote it down too. But the two accidents that I had, one was I was jumping up and down on the couch like a trampoline, and I fell off and hit my head on the glass coffee table, broke the glass and ripped into my skull. So I had this scar on the back of my head from that. And then the other accident I had was when I went out in the backyard to give a piece of toast to my little dog, little Cocker Spaniel, Blackie. And I held it out for him. Here you go, Blackie. Well, he overshot the toast, and he came up and grabbed hold of my eyebrow, and it just gushed blood all over the place. So those are my first two memories. And then I think I had a positive memory too, but this morning I've forgotten it.
How long have you kept journals?
I've been doing journaling probably since about 1970.
Wow.
I started by doing journaling with with my teachers at the elementary school where I was principal at Freiberger School. And it was a neat way to keep in touch with how they were doing in their class and what was going on. Today, the most important thing that a principal does to keep track of their teachers is they have to actually physically go into the classroom, write down exactly what they see, and then make a copy of that to put in the teacher's file and give the teacher a copy. It was a lot more fun just to journal each week and say, here's what's going on in your class, and I would write suggestions, or I would say, that sounds great, keep it up, you know. So that's where I started my journaling. It was interactive. And then when I retired, I continued to journal just for myself because I didn't have anybody special that I would interact with.
That's cool.
Yeah. And somewhere in here it has my other memories.
Yeah, I can read
you
that.
can see them later, yeah.
What was your community like when you were growing up?
Culver City was just a real mediocre, small town type of atmosphere. Even though it's a suburb of Los Angeles, it was just really a nice small town atmosphere. My neighborhood probably had about 20 children in it. What is that? Oh, you get beans with that? Can you smell the beans? Let me see. See if I can smell. I can't smell them. You got a better smeller than me. Here. Want to put that back? Thank you. So, okay, where were we?
20 kids.
Oh yeah, there was 20 kids in the neighborhood. And so, anytime you had free time in the afternoon or after dinner, there was always somebody willing to go play. We played whatever it was, kick the can, or, Red Rover, or whatever, you know. There was all kinds of games that we would play. It was neat. And across the street was the mayor and his two kids lived over there.
Oh.
Spoon. Spoon.
And were there other cities around Culver City at the time?
Yes. Well, at the time I lived in Culver City, there was quite a few bean fields still. And you'd look out your back door and you'd see the bean fields and the farmer out there planting or harvesting or whatever. And then we were right next to Venice and I can't even think what else is done. Mar Vista. There were other towns all around there.
Did you go to the beach at all?
Yeah, we went to the beach. Actually, my first visits to the beach were when Dad would take us down to go grunion hunting at night. There'd be a nice high tide, and the grunion would be coming up to lay their eggs on the beach. And he would take a group of kids from the neighborhood down there, and we'd all get grunion and take them home and fry them up and have fresh fish at about midnight.
Oh, that's cool.
And then after that, I had a lot of friends who liked to go surfing or go bobby surfing, and so we would go to the beach quite a bit.
Now, did your dad always like fishing? Or did
My
he...
dad started liking fishing when I was probably about 8 years old, and the first fishing that he did was spin fishing, which is, you know, where you put a spinning reel on the rod and then you cast it out there on a monofilament line, and you have a lure on the end of it usually. You could have a worm or something, but usually he fished with lures. And then we would start, when I'd go fishing with him, we would start looking around to see